Hey there, and welcome to Family Revenge. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay with us for every twist and turn. Let's jump right in. Kendra handed my daughter a glittery paper bag with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. That's when I knew something was off. It was the end of the school talent show. The multi-purpose room still smelled like cafeteria pizza and kid sweat. I was standing by the folding chairs with my husband, Tyler, and our 9-year-old daughter, Maddie, when Kendra, my older sister, the self-declared cool aunt, started handing out what she called participation gifts, one for each kid. Most of the kids tore into them right there. Some got Play-Doh, some puzzles or stickers. A couple had fun-sized candy bars, all cheap stuff, but thoughtful enough. Maddie waited until we got a little space, then she opened hers. Inside was a folded white napkin, nothing else. She turned it over, confused. Someone, obviously Kendra, had written in thick black marker, "Work on your attitude." Maddie looked up at me, blinking hard. She clutched the napkin like maybe it had some hidden meaning. Her mouth opened like she wanted to ask something but didn't. The air just died in my lungs. Kendra noticed. She walked over, all smug, like she was expecting applause for the stunt. "Oh, come on," she said, loud enough for the other parents to hear. "It's called character building. Don't be so sensitive, Maddie. You know I love you." Maddie shrank back like she'd been slapped. Tyler stepped forward slightly, jaw clenched, but didn't say anything. Neither did I. Not right then. My tongue felt glued to the roof of my mouth. Kendra laughed and turned back to the other moms like she'd just told a killer joke. Maddie stood frozen, still holding the napkin. Her eyes were watery, but she was trying not to cry. Her bottom lip started to shake. She was wearing the red dress she picked out herself, the one she said made her feel sparkly like Saturn. I wanted to grab Kendra by the shoulders and shake her right there in the middle of the damn school cafeteria. Tyler leaned down and whispered, "We should go." Now I nodded. We grabbed our coats and walked toward the door without saying goodbye. Kendra called after us, sing-song, "Don't be mad! It's a joke!" But I didn't even look back. My daughter was silent, still holding that napkin, and Kendra's voice echoed behind us like a bad smell that wouldn't go away. Maddie didn't say a word on the drive home. She sat in the back seat, still holding that stupid napkin, her dress bunched under her legs, her face turned to the window like she was trying not to exist. Tyler drove one-handed, knuckles white on the wheel. I could feel the anger rolling off him, quiet but sharp. About halfway home, Maddie finally spoke, barely above a whisper. Was I bad? My stomach twisted. I turned around in my seat and looked at her, and her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying anymore, just waiting. "No, baby," I said. "You were perfect. Some people act mean and call it love, but that's not on you." She didn't answer, just stared out the window again like she already knew. We didn't talk for the rest of the ride. When we pulled into the driveway, Tyler shut the car off and just sat there for a second, staring at nothing. Then he said it. "Time's up." I turned to him, not totally sure what he meant, but he was already getting out. I followed him into the house, still in a daze. He walked straight to his laptop, sat down, and started typing. A few clicks, a password, and then he said, "Auto transfer's done." It took me a second to catch up. "Wait, you mean the rent?" He nodded. "She can figure it out herself now." We'd been sending Kendra a monthly transfer for almost 5 years. Started as a one-time favor after her divorce. Then it just never stopped. I'd brought it up a few times, but Tyler always said, "Family's family." Tonight must have killed that for him. I stood there a second, then turned and walked straight to the filing cabinet in the hallway closet. The metal handle stuck a little, but I yanked it open. Second drawer, red folder in the back, everything I'd kept. I dragged it out and dumped it on the dining table. Receipts, screenshots, printed texts, years of her little digs, her guilt trips, her borrowed but never returned money. The time she said I was boring now because I had a kid. The screenshot where she told someone I used Maddie's quirks to get attention. Even an old birthday card where she crossed out my name and wrote hers by mistake. Petty crap maybe, but it built up. I walked to my purse, pulled out the napkin, folded it neatly, and set it right on top of the pile. Tyler came over, flipped through a few of the papers. "She's not going to take this well," he said. "She's not supposed to." We spent the next half hour organizing it all. No yelling, no venting. Just quiet, focused sorting. I stapled what needed stapling. Tyler labeled the manila folder, we sealed it shut, and left it on the counter. The next morning, Maddie was still asleep when we got in the car. We didn't even change out of our sweats. Just grabbed coffee and drove across town in silence. Kendra's apartment was on the second floor of a tired beige complex off Route 28. She had a plant on her balcony, dead, and 3 Amazon boxes stacked at the door like she couldn't be bothered. We parked on the street and walked up the sidewalk, past the dented mailbox and the peeling numbers on her building. I carried the folder. Tyler kept watch. I didn't knock. I didn't wait. I bent down and set it right on the doormat, then pressed the center of the folder with my palm so it wouldn't blow away. Then I stood up, turned around, and walked back down the stairs. We were halfway down the drive when Tyler said, "She'll open it right away." She always checks the peephole first. I didn't answer. I didn't care. We got in the car, doors shut, engine on, and we drove off without another word. We just turned onto the main road when it hit us. A high-pitched scream cracked through the quiet like glass shattering. Tyler and I both looked at each other, then back at the rearview mirror. Kendra, it was loud enough to bounce off the street signs. A neighbor opened their door across the lot. A heavy guy in a gray bathrobe with coffee in one hand and a phone in the other. He stepped out, scanned around like he was expecting blood. "I think she found it," Tyler muttered. We kept driving. I checked my phone at the red light. Nothing yet. But I knew the silence wouldn't last. We were barely home an hour when it started. First, it was a string of texts, block number, probably a burner, paragraphs of all caps rage. She called me jealous, bitter, fake, said I was brainwashing my daughter, said Tyler was spineless, said I was nothing without her. Then the missed calls started. 4 from my mom, 2 voicemails. The first was shaky, breathless. "I don't know what's going on, but your sister is devastated. This was supposed to be a fun night for the kids. You've taken it way too far." The second had more edge. "This is nothing to go nuclear over. You don't torch family over a napkin. You need to apologize before this turns into something permanent." It already was permanent. I didn't respond. I walked to my computer, opened the folder we'd built. Every file scanned, sorted, dated. I wrote 1 sentence in the subject line. "In case you're wondering why we won't be coming around anymore." Attached everything. Sent it to the whole damn family. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even my dad's sister in Phoenix who hasn't seen us since 2012. A half hour later, I got a text from my cousin Danielle. Just said, "About time." Another one came in from my Uncle Ray. "Haven't liked how she talks to you for years." And then the doorbell rang. I froze. Tyler checked the peephole and gave me a nod. "Police." I opened it. 2 officers stood there, both mid-40s, both with that bored but ready expression. "Ma'am," the taller one said, "we were called out on a possible harassment complaint involving a delivery to a residence over on Oakview Lane." "Let me guess," I said. "She told you we dumped trash on her porch?" The shorter cop cracked half a smile. "Something like that." Tyler handed them a second copy of the folder, already printed and clipped. We'd prepared it in case she tried to spin it legal. They flipped through it on the porch, took their time. Finally, the taller one looked up. "This isn't a criminal matter. She can file a civil complaint if she wants, but from what I see here, you're within your rights." They thanked us, gave a short nod, and left. By dinner, the family group chat was on fire. Some people were quiet. Others chimed in with vague, "we don't take sides" comments, but not one person said I was lying. Not one person defended her. Kendra, though, she went nuclear right back. 37 texts by midnight. Long ones, guilt ones, threats. At some point, she called Tyler's job and left a voicemail. Didn't say anything worth repeating, just tried to stir something. It didn't work. But she wasn't done yet, not even close. I wish I could say Kendra turned into this overnight, but she didn't. She was raised to believe she mattered more, and I was raised to accept that. It started way before any napkin or talent show. Growing up, I was the easy one. That's what they called me. Quiet, self-sufficient, didn't need as much attention. Translation: invisible. Kendra was loud, dramatic, always in some kind of spotlight, even if she had to yank it out of someone else's hands. Every time she opened her mouth, people leaned in. Every time I did, they barely looked up. She won a spelling bee in 2nd grade, and they threw her a party with balloons and cake. I made the honor roll twice that year. I got a head nod from my dad and a cool from my mom. That was it. Our birthdays were 4 days apart. So naturally, we had joint parties. Except the theme was always something she picked: Barbies, ponies, glitter. I hated glitter. Still do. The cakes were always pink, the gifts always mysteriously her size. "It's for both of you," they'd say as she opened it first, and I'd just sit there, clapping like a guest at my own birthday. When I was 17, I told my mom I thought I was depressed. It took me weeks to get the courage. She didn't even pause. She said, "You're probably just bored. You need a hobby." Then she went back to stirring her coffee. No follow-up, no questions, nothing. I started walking to the library after school just to get out of the house. Sometimes I wouldn't go home until dinner. Nobody noticed. Or if they did, they didn't ask. Kendra got caught sneaking out once. My mom blamed her friends. I came home with a C in calculus, and my dad told me maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. College was my escape. I picked a school 3 states away and never looked back. That's where I met Tyler. First guy who didn't talk over me. First person who noticed when I got quiet and actually cared why. He used to say, "You don't have to perform here. You can just be," that wrecked me in a way I didn't know I needed. After graduation, we got married fast. I didn't even invite most of my family to the wedding. Kendra couldn't come anyway. She said she had a bachelorette trip in Miami that same weekend. My mom said I was being dramatic for picking a date she couldn't attend. I didn't speak to any of them for almost 4 years. Then Maddie was born. That's what cracked the door open again. I wanted her to have a big family: cousins, grandparents, aunts. I told myself maybe it could be different, that maybe they'd show up for her in ways they never did for me. And at first, it seemed okay. Kendra brought over a casserole. My mom knitted a blanket. My dad bought a teddy bear that looked like it cost $100. But it didn't last. It never does. Kendra would hold Maddie for a few minutes, then start talking about herself. My mom kept accidentally giving her candy I said no to. My dad tried to tickle her once when she asked him not to and laughed when she flinched, said she was too sensitive. I kept brushing it off, kept thinking maybe I was the one being too hard. But then one day I caught Kendra whispering to Maddie behind my back, telling her she needed to toughen up. Maddie was 5. That night I told Tyler, "I think I made a mistake." He just looked at me and said, "No, you gave them a chance. They wasted it." The longer they were around Maddie, the more it started to feel like deja vu, just with smaller shoes. It was in the little things, like how Kendra would glance at Maddie's outfit and say, "Interesting choice," even though Maddie had picked it out with pride. Or when she wore leggings with little stars on them, and Kendra said, "Maybe next time try something more flattering." Maddie was 8. Or my dad, when she got overwhelmed and started crying quietly in the corner during Thanksgiving. He waved his fork and said, "There she goes again. Can someone turn off the waterworks?" Then laughed. No one stopped him. Every time I tried to explain her sensory stuff, they either acted confused or annoyed. One time I said loud rooms made her anxious, and my mom blinked at me and said, "Anxious? At a birthday party?" She's a child, not a war vet. She didn't even lower her voice. Maddie heard. She always heard. And the hugs. God, the hugs. Maddie didn't like being touched when she wasn't ready. It wasn't personal, but my mom acted like it was. "She's rejecting me," she told me once, right in front of her. "You're teaching her that affection is bad," I said. "I'm teaching her consent." Mom scoffed like I'd cursed. That day in the car, Maddie whispered, "Why doesn't Grandma listen when I say no?" I didn't have a good answer. I kept thinking they just didn't understand, that if I explained it better, with more detail, maybe it would click. So I sent articles. I brought it up in calm conversations. I tried to educate, but eventually I stopped. Not because I gave up, but because I realized they did understand. They just didn't care. They didn't think it was real. They thought it was an excuse, an overreaction, a phase, a reflection on me. Every time I tried to set a boundary, it turned into a problem. And that problem was always me. She's too dramatic. She's always been sensitive. She's trying to make us feel guilty. Same lines I grew up hearing, same tones, same faces. Only this time, I wasn't the one they were doing it to. Maddie started asking to stay home when she knew family was coming. She'd get quiet, twitchy. She'd hover by the door and whisper, "Are they staying long?" One day, she came to me after Kendra left and asked, "Why does Auntie Kendra not like me?" I couldn't lie. I told her, "She likes the version of you that doesn't talk back. That's not the same thing." She blinked a few times, nodded, and walked away. And that's when it hit me, dead center. I was watching it all happen again. Not to me this time, to her. and I wasn't letting it go any further. 10 days after everything blew up, Maddie came home with something folded in the bottom of her backpack. She pulled it out at the kitchen counter right after snack. Her fingers moved slow, like she already knew it was something she wasn't supposed to have. It was a pastel envelope, covered in little hand-drawn hearts. She handed it to me without saying anything. Inside was a note, written in Kendra's all-caps loopy handwriting. If you're ever sad, remember Auntie Kendra loves you. You can call me anytime, even if your mom says no. I read it 3 times before I could speak. My hands shook. I felt that heat start in my chest and rise fast. I looked over at Maddie. She looked confused, nervous, like she thought she'd done something wrong. I set the note down and said, "Did someone give this to you?" She nodded. Emily handed it to me after art. She said her mom said to give it to me. I knew Emily. Her mom and Kendra went to the same gym. I picked up the phone and called the school. No pause, no cool off. I didn't ask for the front desk. I asked straight for the principal, got his assistant who tried to offer a callback time. I said, no, now. It's urgent. When he got on, I didn't sugarcoat a thing. You let my sister, a person under a current legal warning, not only access my daughter through one of her friends, but send her a manipulative message about going behind my back. What exactly are your procedures for this? He stammered. Said they had no idea it was from an outside adult, that the envelope had Emily's name on the front. Said they'd look into it. I said, don't bother. I already am, I hung up. Then I drove to the police station. I filed a no-contact order through both the district and the county. Sat in the chair while some board officer clicked through the form. But I didn't flinch. I wasn't leaving it up to anyone else to protect Maddie. As soon as I got home, I called our lawyer. Cease and desist for Kendra. Now. And add my parents too. He didn't even ask why. He'd seen enough already. That night, Tyler came home to find me scanning the note into our shared folder. He read it over my shoulder, then said, "She's trying to use Maddie as a loophole." "Not anymore," I said. "We mailed the letters certified. Lawyer's office CC'd the school, the district, and both of Kendra's known emails. We made it impossible to say they didn't know. Maddie didn't ask about the note again. But before bed, she came into the kitchen while I was wiping down the counter. She stood there for a second, then asked, "Am I in trouble?" "No, sweetie," I said. "But she is." Then I hugged her. No forced arms, no pressure, just open space. And this time, she leaned in first. 3 days later, I got tagged in a post by an account I didn't recognize. It was a grainy photo, me and Maddie at the park, taken from a distance. The caption said, "Some people look like good moms until you know the truth." I stared at it for a full minute before the adrenaline kicked in. More tags followed. Different usernames, all 0 followers, no profile pictures. Some had screenshots of vague quotes like, "Toxic parents raise broken kids," or "The truth always comes out, even if you bury it in fake boundaries." One post had a picture of a woman's hand over her heart, crying. The caption read, "She'll grow up and hate you for this, and you'll deserve it." I didn't comment, didn't share, just took screenshots of everything and sent them straight to our lawyer. He forwarded them to the police and cyber unit. They were already compiling evidence. Tyler came into the room, saw the screen, and just said, "She's spiraling." Then came the main event. Kendra posted a selfie, red-faced, eyes glossy, perfect lighting. Caption, "When family betrays you and there's nothing left but prayer." Over 200 comments. "You're so strong." "They don't deserve you." "She always seemed jealous of you." I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because people started whispering behind the scenes. My cousin Elise texted me a screenshot from a private group chat. It was my Aunt Cheryl asking, "So what's really going on with Kendra?" "Something doesn't add up," Danielle shared the folder. Quietly, just to people who asked. A few days later, the family decided to host a Zoom call. To clear the air, they said. I knew it wasn't going to be calm. We logged on with the camera off at first. I watched as squares filled in. My mom's stiff smile, my dad frowning like someone forced him to be there, Kendra with her arms crossed like she was already over it. Then my Uncle Ray jumped in. First words out of his mouth. "Kendra, did you really send a note to her kid behind her back?" Kendra blinked, caught off guard. "I was just trying to comfort her. I didn't mean anything." "But you did do it?" he pressed. My mom jumped in. "She's family. She should be allowed to?" Allowed to go behind a parent's back? Elise cut her off. That's not love, that's control. Kendra's face went red. Wow. So everyone's just turning on me now? I unmuted. My voice came out steady. No, we're just done pretending it's not happening. I clicked share screen, pulled up the folder, and flipped through it page by page. Receipts, screenshots, texts, the napkin, the note, every ugly little piece. Dead silence. Then someone exhaled. My dad said, "This feels like a witch hunt." Tyler leaned into the mic. "No, it's accountability. You just don't recognize it." We left the call before it ended, but before I closed the window, I saw it. Several cameras going off, eyes turning, doubt cracking open. The story Kendra tried to paint was breaking down, and this time, I wasn't the one on defense. 2 days after the Zoom call, they showed up at our house. No call, no warning. Just the sound of a car door slamming, and my parents standing on our front porch like nothing had happened. Maddie saw them through the living room window. She froze mid-step, dropped the crayon she was holding, and backed away without saying a word. Her shoulders curled in like she was trying to disappear. I stood up, walked past her, and opened the door before they could ring the bell. My mom gave me that look, tight smile, fake concern. My dad stood behind her, arms crossed like he was bracing for a storm. "We just want to talk," she said. "There's nothing left to say." My dad stepped forward. "You've taken this way too far." I crossed my arms. "Really?" Because from where I'm standing, I didn't take it far enough. He scoffed. It was a misunderstanding. A stupid talent show and a note. "You're blowing up our whole family over what? Hurt feelings?" I didn't move. "No, I'm cutting off abuse that you've dressed up as parenting for 30 years. My mom's eyes got shiny, but no tears actually came. She reached into her purse and pulled out a card. Light pink, cheap paper, bent at the corner. She held it out to me. "We just want our family back." I didn't take it. "You had a family. You wrecked it." She set the card down on the porch rail. "Can't you just forgive?" I looked her dead in the eye. "You don't get to ask for forgiveness when you haven't even owned what you did." My dad shifted. "So what? We're just the villains now?" I stepped forward, lowering my voice. "No, you always were." I just stopped pretending otherwise. They stood there in silence for a few seconds, like they expected me to crack. Like they thought if they stayed long enough, I'd cave. That I'd back down like I always used to. But I didn't. I turned and shut the door. A minute later, I heard their car start up. I waited until the engine faded down the street, then walked outside and picked up the card. Back inside, I opened it at the kitchen counter. On the inside, "We miss our family." No names, no apology, just guilt wrapped in cursive. I grabbed a sticky note from the drawer, scribbled 5 words, and stuck it inside. So did I before I left. I sealed it back up and mailed it the next morning. Maddie started sleeping through the night again. No more waking up in a sweat. No more pacing the hallway or checking if the door was locked twice. Her shoulders didn't sit so high anymore. I didn't realize how much tension lived in her body until I saw it finally go. She made 2 new friends in art class, Kelsey and Nora. They were loud and weird in the best way. They didn't flinch when Maddie asked them not to touch her backpack or crowd her desk. They just nodded like, "Cool," and kept going. At pickup one day, I saw them all sitting under the playground slide, passing around a glitter pen like it was sacred. She didn't need her noise-canceling headphones as often either. Some mornings, I'd grab them just in case, and she'd say, "Nah, I'm good," with a shrug that told me everything. Then one morning, while brushing her hair before school, she said it without any buildup. "My heart doesn't buzz anymore." I paused, brushed midair. "Buzz?" She nodded. "It used to buzz in my chest. Like a bee was stuck in there. It's quiet now. I almost cried right there at the bathroom sink." 2 weeks later, her school hosted Family Day. It was the first time in years I didn't feel dread walking into a crowded school hallway. No fake smiles, no pretending. They had a mini art show in the library. Maddie had submitted a painting she'd worked on all month. It was a deep purple background with swirls of gold, teal, and black. A galaxy, kind of, but with stars shaped like small shields. In the bottom corner, she wrote in silver marker, "Safe is better than big." When I read it, my throat closed. I crouched beside her and asked, "Did you come up with that?" She nodded. "Some people want a big family, even if it hurts. But I'd rather have a small one that feels safe." I didn't speak. I just pulled her in close, forehead to forehead. We stayed at the event for over an hour. She introduced me to her friends, her teacher, the librarian. She smiled with her whole face, no flinching, no bracing. On the way home, she sat in the back seat, humming along to the radio. Windows cracked, wind in her hair. Then, out of nowhere, she said, "Even if they never talk to us again, you did the right thing." I didn't turn around, just kept driving. But my hands gripped the wheel a little steadier. That night, after Maddie went to bed and the house settled into quiet, I opened my email. There it was. Subject line, "You happy now?" Message from Kendra, one sentence. "Are you happy now? You won?" I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. She still didn't get it. This was never about winning. I wasn't playing a game. I was breaking a cycle, one she thought she could keep spinning, just louder, just longer. I stared at the screen for another second, then closed the laptop and stood up. Earlier that week, I'd picked up 2 simple black frames from Target. I hadn't known what I was going to do with them until now. I opened the drawer where I'd stashed both, the napkin, still folded from the talent show, and my mom's pink sympathy card. I slid them into the frames side by side. No glass. I wanted to feel the paper if I ever needed to remember. I hung them in the laundry room, high up where Maddie wouldn't see. Not to dwell, not to hate, just to remember. Maddie was still awake when I passed her room. She sat cross-legged on her bed, wrapped in the quilt Tyler gave her for her birthday. Soft blue, stitched stars, her name embroidered in the corner. She was reading to her stuffed animals, 3 arranged in a neat little half circle like a front row. She looked up, smiled, and kept reading. Calm, settled, herself. I walked down the hall to the kitchen, made a cup of chamomile tea, and curled up on the couch. No TV, no phone, just the sound of her voice carrying softly from her room. And in that stillness, I thought, maybe I didn't go too far. Maybe I finally went far enough. I didn't win anything. I didn't destroy anything. I just walked away. And for once in my life, I didn't turn back.